Good morning or afternoon or evening to you guys in Education 355 whenever you're getting an opportunity to watch this video. I know that we are into week 3 and I've not done a video before, but I wanted to for a couple of reasons. One, just to send you guys a message and make sure that everything's going okay. I know that over the last couple of weeks, a lot has changed. Those of you that are in schools normally are not, and those of you that are undergrads on main campus are no longer on main campus, and everybody's trying to kind of adjust and make things work as virtual learners, and what does that look like, and all of that kind of shifts your intentions and kind of your routines and how you were able to do some work for the class before. So I will send it out an email or an announcement from this class following the video that will say the same thing. But this is just really to say that you and your family are priority. And so while I always recommend Sunday as a deadline day for your weekly assignments, by no means will I take off any points if it's not turned in by Sunday. I'm just kind of going to open it up to be very flexible in the due dates. So I will open things up weekly. If they are in by Sunday, that's great. If they are not, that's okay. I've just now kind of settled into transitioning all of my courses for undergraduate courses to be online. So I know it takes some time to get used to that. Plus I have 5 little ones that are at home that, we're trying to get that taken care of. So I know there's a lot of factors going on with schedules. So I understand. I also wanted to do a video this week because there is your content area project or assignment that starts this week. And I just wanted to kind of walk through that with you because it will build over the course of the rest of our weeks together. So I just want to make sure that you understand what we're looking for. So you should be seeing my screen right now, and this is our main page for the course. And when I click on, when I click on weekly content, I'm going to go into week 3 for this week's information. And so there's a couple of things, and oops, one of them I forgot to connect into here, so I will connect into this, but I will remind you of what that is. The first thing is your discussion board. So this week your reading is Chapter 3 and Chapter 7. Chapter 3 is talking about the writer's craft and writer's workshop and some read-alouds and mini lessons and things like that. Chapter 7 is talking specifically about poetry writing, and so that is what your discussion board will be about for week 3. So once you've read Chapter 7, I want you to choose a grade level standard that's not English Language Arts. See, we're working with this at home. We're being flexible. And then once you choose your standard that's not English Language Arts, then you're going to choose a type of poem that's mentioned in Chapter 7. So there's a variety of types of poems that are mentioned in the chapter with some examples. So you're going to pick one of those. And then you're going to explain how you would use that type of poem to teach that standard in another content area. And you're going to do that twice. So you will choose 2 different content areas. So maybe one math, one science, one social studies, one science, whatever it might be. And then you're going to choose 2 different poem types. So maybe an apology poem, a limerick, an acrostic. It can be any of those. But you'll choose 2 different standards with 2 different poem types. And you'll share that in the post. And then again, just as normal, you'll reply and provide some kind of feedback and input on 2 of your classmates' posts. So that is your discussion board for this week. Pretty simple, straightforward. That's the easy part. The other part, I don't know. I don't think I can get to the journal part, so I'm going to have to take the student preview off of this, and let me go ahead and do that now. So my screen's going to look a little bit different than yours does because I took this preview off. But in order to get to the journal, the learning log, this is the way I need to do it. After I finish this video, I will link it in the weekly content folder, so you won't have to do this, but just so you know. So this is the journal learning log that you'll have for this week. Again, I just kind of make the point that the guideline is for Sunday, but you don't have to do it by Sunday. So your learning log this week is connected to chapter 3, which, as I said, is talking about writer's craft, 6 traits of writing, interactive read-alouds, writing workshop, things like that. So I want you to pick one of those 3 topics. So either 6 traits of writing, interactive read-alouds, and writing workshop, and being mindful about your writing. So the intention of this course is that we're also strengthening your writing itself. So being intentional about your writing. Tell me about one of those topics. Make sure that you clearly define and describe it and indicate how it applies to your teaching or your classroom or your observations or your experience. So obviously none of us are in classrooms right now. But if you were a TA, or if you are in a residency program and you are teaching in a classroom, or you're normally in a school as like a full-time some faculty or staff member, then I want you to take the topic that you chose and tell me how that applies to your classroom. And sometimes it might be that we don't see it in a classroom, and sometimes it might be 100% alignment, and this is exactly what we're doing. If you are not in a school or you didn't have a field experience, then just think about your writing experience. So, for example, in one of my high school classes, when I was in high school, we talked about the 6 traits of writing. Other than that, I really didn't see it because it came out after I was in elementary school, so we didn't use it. I didn't use it as a student. So if you have not been in a classroom or you were not in a field experience, you've never seen any of these things, then you will write about your experience. So please make sure that you provide enough information and detail so that I see the connection of your practice or your experience to the topic that you're choosing. So be very thorough in this. And again, part of these learning logs is that I'm looking at your writing and I'm helping you to kind of build your stamina and turn any kind of writing struggles into strengths. So let me go back to now my weekly content folder. I'm going to turn this student preview back on just so it looks a little bit more comfortable. So chapters 3 and 7, your discussion board, your learning log. Then the last piece is going to be this writing in the content area. So this is a multiple part task that will span over the course of the rest of the 8 weeks. And there's just one part that's due this week, and it's pretty simple, but it's kind of like your foundation for what you're going to be doing moving forward. So I have 2 links here. I have one link that takes you into the description. It's the full description of all of the parts, when they're due, what is due, and it includes the rubric on the second page. So I will always include that each week that something would be due. But the one thing I did want to do, because there's so much information on there, I have the rubric copied with the parts specific to this week highlighted. So I do want you to look at the document that is full of the information that gives you the big picture of everything going on. Then I do want you to come back into this document for this week and just take a look, kind of like let the other stuff go and look at what's due this week so that you know exactly what should be turned in. So the big idea is that you are in this task overall, the writing in the content area task. The big idea is that you are creating a writing project for a fictional class. If you're in the field, by all means, use the class that you were in or the students that you had as your potential students. And you are going to develop, kind of based on what we've been reading in the book and some of the strategies that have been in there, you are going to develop overall a writing prompt an assessment rubric that you would use to score that writing prompt, and a revising and editing tool that you would use to help the students revise and edit the prompt that you created. So you're creating this resource from start to finish, from prompt to assessment rubric to revising and editing tool. So the prompt is one of the things that's due this week, or as soon as you can get it in. And so what that means is your prompt, it's open-ended, but it has these kind of parameters. So it's argumentative. It's argumentative. So it needs to be something that students would take like a persuasive stance on, something that is kind of problem solution oriented. It needs to be a prompt that, in addition to being argumentative or persuasive, is within a content area that is not English language arts. So again, the point of this class is that we're writing across content areas. So it needs to be something science, social studies, or math related. It should be something you are looking at a writing standard and a content area standard that is 3rd grade or higher. And the final product, so as you're thinking, you're going to be creating the prompt this week, but ultimately you are going to be creating the assessment and the scoring guide and the revising tool. So while you do not need to have a final product this week, you do need to just know that the final product you want your students to create is not a paper. So yes, it's about writing across the content area, but we want you to think kind of bigger idea, that it's not just about writing a research paper or a persuasive essay. We want whatever their final product is going to be something that's more dynamic and more engaging and more involved. So it's very open-ended, but it should not be just that you're giving them a prompt and you want them to write a response. There should be more to it than that. So I've highlighted here, as I've said, the only thing that's due this week is your prompt and your standard. And on the rubric, I highlighted the rubric parts that go with that. So here in the overall category, it talks about that the standards that you're choosing are both literacy and content area, and that you are the prompt that you are asking them to do, or the final product that you're asking them to complete in the prompt, is not a paper. So literacy, other content area, not a paper. And then for the prompt itself in the rubric, that it's well written, you are very specific to the assignment, and there is alignment to the standards that you've chosen and the prompt that you're writing. So the areas that are highlighted in yellow are what is due today. So the prompt and the standards, and it can all be on one document. And when you are looking back in week 3, you will see here's the original rubric with all the information. Here is the week 3 part 1 rubric with the highlights that we were just looking at. And here is the link to turn in your part 1. I'm going to see, I can move this, good. Okay, I'm going to move my picture out of the way so that you can see this. So when you go to submit, you're going to turn in one document. Make sure that you reference the content area assignment rubric that's included right here, this one particular. This week, the only thing that's due is your prompt and your standards. And when you upload this, I'm not grading this part yet. All of the pieces will be graded at the end. The point of turning this in now is to be able to get feedback. So I will provide feedback on your prompt and your standards to make sure that we've got a strong foundation set. So when you go to turn in, you're just turning in your prompt and your standards. Remember to look at this rubric so that you see the highlights of what exactly is expected. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Feel free to reach out. But overall, that's kind of where we're at for this week. Read Chapter 3 and complete the learning log. Read Chapter 7 and complete the discussion board. And complete your content area Part 1. That is all we're doing, which is a lot, but that's all we're doing. If you have questions, reach out. I hope you all are well and healthy and enjoying some time at home with family. Thank you.